This podcast contains discussions about sensitive topics, including mental health, alcohol and substance use, as well as suicide. It may also include strong language. The viewpoints expressed by guests do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the hosts. Listener discretion is advised. If you or someone you know needs support, please reach out to a trusted professional or a helpline. Welcome to Twist the Throttle, the podcast where we crank open the throttle on life's toughest rides. From mental health struggles to life on two wheels. We're here to have real, raw, unscripted conversations that break the stigma and help you navigate the road ahead. So grab your helmet, hit the road with us, and remember, it's still okay to pump the brakes. Together, we're shifting gears on mental health. Here's your hosts, Ambo and the Prez.
Well, welcome back, listeners. Another week has passed. We're here with our new guest, Whitey. Mick White.
G'day, guys.
Hogs.
Cogs and two Aussie Flogs.
There we go. We got it.
And that Harley couple.
That's correct, yeah.
I wasn't sure if the lovely would be with you tonight.
No, well, the lovely, the tail gunner's at home, mate. She's had an operation on her hand, so she's at home recuperating. And
it's healing up all right?
Yeah, going really good. It was a lot bigger job than she thought she was going to get, so she'll have to stay home for a while.
That sounds terrible.
I'll have to go out on my own on the bike.
No. So, speaking of bikes, what are you riding at the moment?
Mate, at the moment I've got a couple.
Yep.
I've got a 2012 Fat Boy.
Yep.
Which is the love of my life, mate.
Oh, really?
The very first one I got. So I got that back in 2017.
Yep.
And then I've got the 2020 Fat Boy.
Yep.
Sorry, the 2020 Road Glide. About 12 months ago, or about 8 months ago, I acquired a 2010 Road King.
Oh, nice.
Which was my best mate's, and he passed away, so I couldn't bear to see anyone else ride it.
So out of those three, which one's your favourite?
Got to be the Fat Boy.
Yeah?
Yeah. I love my fatty.
That's not the Terminator one, is it?
No. I think that was the 2008 or something. Yeah, but no, the 2012. But she's a lovely bike. I've actually you're not going to believe this. I've put a tow bar on it, and I've bought a trailer because one of the things with that Harley couple we're doing is we go to a lot of rallies.
Yeah.
And I'm sort of documenting the Australian rally scene.
Yep.
And I was at one not that long ago, and all these blokes around me with trailers, and they're pulling out barbecues.
Wow, it's great.
They got they got all their grog in there and all their food, and they got.
Do they actually say how it goes, how it handles? Does it handle all right?
Well, everyone has told me it was good, so I actually was lucky enough to pick one up about 3 or 4 weeks after that.
Yeah.
And I got it all set up. And we went off to the first rally with it, and mate, it's absolutely sensational. Don't even know it's on the back.
Plastic, fiberglass, carbon fiber. What's the matter?
No, it's all metal, properly made. But it's not. They're not very heavy. They're not very large. But the thing with it is previously I would put about 60 kilos of shit on the back of the Fat Boy where you couldn't possibly strap anything else on it.
Makes a lot.
Plus the missus, plus myself. And it would handle accordingly.
Yeah.
Now it's only actually got about 15 kilos on the ball.
Right.
So it actually handles a lot better.
Fuel economy would be good. You wouldn't have to visit the petrol stations, would you?
If we're worried about fuel economy, we wouldn't be riding Harleys.
That's exactly right. So
every time he lends me his bike, it's empty. Do you want to borrow my bike? Yeah.
So the idea behind that will be. I can take everything I want to these rallies, and camera equipment and everything, and we can hopefully get a bit of a hit, a thing going at the. I've done a couple now, and I just love the rally scene.
Yeah.
To me, it's possibly one of the best part about riding.
I think our club's looking at doing the Redback Rally.
Well, the Redback Rally is the one we did last year, earlier this year.
Yeah.
And it's huge.
Yeah.
It's the second biggest in Victoria. It is so professionally run.
Yeah.
It is really well done. It's a good rally when you roll up and there's a massive tent with a huge air conditioner, and that's just for the girls that you're paying when you're walking in the door.
Yeah.
So absolutely fantastic rally, the Redback Rally. And unfortunately, obviously, most of the rallies have stopped now for the next couple of months, but I've got a lot to go to later this year.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can come along.
Hey, well, mate, I tell you what, I recommend anyone that's into riding and into the bike culture to get along to them, because the thing I like about the rallies is there's no one plastic there.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's there for the same reason. They either want to talk bikes, they want to talk shit, or they want to have a beer.
Perfect.
All right. And if you throw in a nice wet T-shirt competition, the world's become a beautiful place, hasn't it?
Titties, tires, and beers.
Oh, that's it. It's a beautiful thing.
So I've done the dirt version of road rallies. I've done the open roads rally. And
Oh, yeah.
That was a really enjoyable time.
Yeah, that's a big one too.
Yeah,
That's
that's a really big one.
Up Gippsland Way, isn't it?
They've done it in a couple of different spots. I think they might have found a good spot now. I haven't been for a couple of years, unfortunately.
I keep an eye on all the rallies of all types, because I also run there's a Facebook group called Victorian Rallies Runs and Events.
Yeah, we're on it.
Yeah. Well, I run that.
I didn't realise that was you.
That's me. So basically my whole...
Obviously, I've done deep research into this, guys.
my whole Monday morning is basically scouring internet and all other sorts of media to make sure that's as up-to-date as possible.
Nice to be retired, eh?
Well, I've been doing it long before I was retired, but it's actually now I can actually do it properly. I spend a bit of time. So the whole idea with that one is we just put one post up per event, try and keep it in as order as much as I can. And the reason I started it is because I got sick of getting online and all I was seeing was Queensland rallies. Well, yeah, I'm good, but getting to a Queensland rally on a Friday night's a little bit hard. Right. So I decided, well, bugger it, I'll have a crack at it myself.
We'll put in the show notes and we can link that.
Yeah, it'd be cool.
Definitely. Yeah, I got that. Yeah.
So on the bike, do you listen to music?
Not very often. Yeah. I can listen to music, but quite frankly, the Road Glide, the stereo systems in them are pretty average, certainly at speed. It's all right when you're putting around town, but when you're out in the country sitting on 100-ish, and I just don't like having it in my ears Bluetooth-wise, personally. And I just enjoy being on the bike and listening to the sound of the bike. But a lot of the guys never have their audio off, and they're always, like they pull up next to you. You can't talk to them because they're bloody got ACDs.
That's me.
Do you have comms with the missus, or?
Yeah. Actually, that's the only person I have comms with because I don't understand how blokes can go for a ride and they've got 8 different conversations going on in their head. It would do my head in.
That's the rust nuts. And
but
I'm the president up the front. I'm not on the comms. I'm on the bike.
I'm on it for safety reasons, and I like singing, and everybody likes to listen to my singing.
That's not happening. All right, look, it's great to have with the missus, but quite frankly, we don't do a lot of talking on the bike. She's too busy at the back spending my money.
Oh, of course.
She sort of decides that's where she has her quiet time to think about what's going to, be the next investment that I'm apparently going to make.
Excellent.
But if we see something, we'll do you want to stop there, that sort of thing. And it's really good.
I heard that you got your Harley bought for you while you were in America or something. You were over in Sturgis.
No. But this was a weird one. So back in early 2017, I got diagnosed with cancer of the throat. And long story short, after going through the treatment for that, one of the things that got me through that was we had a trip booked with my best friend and another couple and my best friend's wife, and we went over to Cambodia and Vietnam.
Yep.
Riding over there, by the way, whole lot of fun.
Yeah, you did Vietnam.
It's friggin' insane.
I did luxury. I did airplanes.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no. We hired a couple of bikes for, I think, $3 for the day.
Wow.
And went out into the countryside on those. Bikes, they were little scooters.
Yeah.
Whole lot of fun. Whole lot of fun. But then when you get into the town, Ho Chi Minh City's got 6 million motorcycles, and they're about 9 abreast.
Yeah.
Over 2.5 lanes.
I remember crossing the roads in Vietnam, and you just kind of close your eyes and walk.
Yeah, over there, if you just walk with purpose, they'll go around you.
Somebody telling me that the responsibility lays on the next size up vehicle. Yeah. So if like a bike hits a pedestrian, it's the bike's fault. If a car hits if a truck hits a car, it's the truck's fault. Yeah, so it goes up in progression. The bigger the person at fault.
Was it China had a big problem a few years back where pedestrians were getting hit and then people were backing over them because in China, if you hit someone, you're responsible for all of their hospital bills and their recovery.
But if they're dead, you don't have to.
If you're dead, so I was like,
that's fairly brutal.
It's cheaper for me to go back and have
that's pretty brutal, isn't it? So anyway, after the treatment for the cancer and all that, and I convinced my doctor that I'll be surgeon or whatever you wanted to call him. He said, no, you can't go away, because I was still feeding through a tube in my guts. Funnily enough, the dietitian convinced him to let me go, so packed up all these little Tetra packs of bloody food into between our 2 bags, and off we went to Cambodia and Vietnam. And my other mate there said one day, he said, "Do you want to go on a jet ski?" I said, "Yeah, I'd love to go on a jet ski. That'd be a lot of fun." My missus said, "You can't go on a frigging jet ski, you dickhead. You've got a big tube hanging out your guts." I said, "I don't give a shit. I'm going out." So anyway, I went out there, and whilst I was out there riding it like I stole it, unbeknownst to me, my best mate was on the shore telling my missus that he says, "I've not seen him have so much fun and be so relaxed like he is right now since he got rid of his bike," which was about 5 years after having back surgery. I get back on the shore and fell off the bloody jet ski. And she picked me up, and she's sort of physically helping me back along the beach. I was that exhausted because it was the first physical thing I'd done in about 7 months. And she looked at me, she said, "When we get home, you're buying your Harley." And I said, "Don't be bloody stupid. We can't afford a Harley." Long story short, we got back to the room. I said, "Look, I've got to go to the toilet." And I went into the toilet, closed the door, texted my brother really fast, "Find me a fucking Harley," before she changes her mind. So 21 days later, the fat boy was in the garage.
That's cool. But your first bike was at 7, yeah? Your dad bought you a rock hopper frame?
No, me brother actually. My brother worked part-time at Myers. My older brother, he was a lot older than me, and he was at Myers, and he I think it cost him about $60 or $65 for this, what was called a rock hopper, and it was basically a little mini bike frame with little bloody tyres and no motor. That was a Christmas present from him, and it was the most amazing thing because I was already fascinated by bikes at that stage. My dad had been into bikes in the UK and all that sort of thing. So anyway, about 2 months later, Dad comes home with a 125 bloody Victor motor engine. Straps it in, got the throttle lever like on the that's what I had. So basically, and we lived opposite a paddock. And in those days, you could actually have fun without someone bloody calling the cops. And spent a couple of years running around on that, having a whole lot of fun. So I went from that to a while later when I was an apprentice. I bought a YZ125H. That was the first of the water cools. That was a whole lot of
dirt
fun.
Bike, yeah?
Yeah, dirt bike. So like everybody, you start off on mini bikes, dirt bikes.
So you actually race track, or was it just mucking?
No, I was just a lunatic. Like everybody else.
Any trouble with the cops back then?
Not on that one, but then eventually I went and got myself an XL 500. Now, and I thought, well, I better get a learner's permit. So I get the learner's permit, and I think I was on it about 4 days, and I'm riding down one of the roads in Glenwavy where I lived at the time, and this bloke was very close behind me in his car, and I thought, why has he got flashing lights on it? Yes, officer, I'll pull over. So I pulled over, and of course I'm on a 500. I'm supposed to be on a 250. In those days, on a learner's permit or P-plates, you had to have a 250cc. There was none of this learner-approved bikes or whatever. It was up to 250 no matter what it was.
I started on a 250.
Yeah, and like you could have an RGV 250, which was basically a
race
bike, but you couldn't have a Harley Sportster.
Exactly.
So it wouldn't pull the skin off a rice pudding in those days. So I sat on the bike and I thought, shit, I know I've got one of my L plates isn't on, so I'm probably going to get nicked for that. But I really don't want to get nicked for being on a bike that's too big because that was loss of licence. So I sat on the bike, and every time he walked around the bike, I'd swap putting one foot to the other, and I covered the 500 stickers. And he gave me a ticket, and he probably was surprised that he got a thank you, and I just wanted him to fuck off as soon as possible.
On your way, please.
So that was probably that's probably the only time I've ever been booked on the bike. Ever since then, I've been pulled over a number of times, but I've never got a ticket.
I only got pulled over once, and it was for being on an unregistered bike without a licence.
Yeah, that'll do it.
I did a lot of riding in New Zealand without a licence.
Well, there's a place to go riding. We went over, me and Paul went over with the girls last year. Did 10 days around the South Island, and that is God's territory.
That is beautiful.
I mean, I've ridden all over the place, done a lot around Sturgis and 8 states of America, but I'll take the South Island of New Zealand any day.
Yeah, nice.
Absolutely incredible road. Because they put a lot of, they got very high petrol prices. But they put the money actually into the roads. Take note, Victorian government.
Yeah, exactly. We had it, Paul, on. We were talking about the potholes and whatnot around here in Victoria. It's bloody
they spent all their money keeping us in prison for 2 years.
Yeah, pay for it.
Yeah.
I said, when I said back then we should have been given our rego money back, we were still paying rego on cars.
Should have been given a lot of money back. But look, hindsight's a beautiful thing, I think. But at the end of the day, we ended up with more people dying in Victoria than anywhere else. So your strategy didn't work too fucking well, mate. Anyway, let's not get political.
So you're right into Easy Rider magazines and been into the bike culture for a while.
Look, when I was a young apprentice, I happened across an Easy Rider magazine, and I just loved reading it, the bike culture. Not so much, not the 1%er culture, but
this was based on the American culture.
Yeah. Well, it was actually American Easy Rider we used to get here, and it was not until a few years later they actually brought out the Australian edition, which I thought was
not as good.
It wasn't as good. And then, of course, obviously there was also Ozbike around in those days. Mm-hmm. So I used to basically I spent my weekly wage on Ozbike and Easy Riders and all that sort of shit, and lots of time.
Big GP fan, a good Wayne Gardner fan early on?
Oh, mate, Gardner that was when I got right into bikes. I had a CB 900 was my first ride bike, and it was fully in Wayne Gardner colours, and I just thought, I knew his story, how he'd gone over there, and in I think it was his first race, a guy came down in front of him and he near killed him, It wasn't Gardner's fault. I just started watching Grand Prix. I was just fascinated by it, and then I just remember when they announced it to be at Phillip Island. It was like I was in the middle of the street in North Road in Ormond at the time, driving along in the middle of the day, and they said Jeff Kennett's walked into the Parliament carrying a motorcycle helmet and said, "We've got the
GP." Awesome.
You would not want to have video footage of that. I was a fairly excited young man of 20 odd years old, so I packed up at this CB fair. So I just got married. Mm-hmm. And I said to the wife, I'm going away with the boys to the Grand Prix. But this was a big trip for me.
Yeah.
I got sheepskin seat cover on the bike. This is going to be a hit. And it was all of 100 Ks from the door to the door. And at that time, that was the furthest I'd ever ridden in my life.
Yeah.
Now I do that before breakfast. Well, now I do 3 times that before breakfast. Yeah. But, that was an incredible. Those first 2 Grand Prix were insanely good.
Yeah.
The excitement, the number of fans that were at those first 2 when they were near 20 deep.
Yeah.
I watched the first one from turn 11, the cops they call it, where they drop over the top and do that almost hairpin up towards turn 12, and lap 1 and Kevin Schwantz high sides in front of us.
Oh, wow.
And I remember at the end of the race when Gardner won, the bloke behind me put his hand on my shoulder. He goes, I can't believe you remain conscious. Because he says, I've never seen someone so excited in all my life. I remember we jumped the fence and we ran to the thing. I couldn't do that now. I'll give you the drill.
So you still make the pilgrimage to the GP now?
I haven't the last couple of years. I went to most of them, and then when Rossi retired, I've sort of lost it lost a little bit for me, because I watched Rossi from when he was in the 125.
Yep.
He's the GOAT.
Yep.
Everyone can pick whoever they like, but
different league,
But before that, we used to go to the World Superbikes. I used to like the World Superbikes more, really, because when we first started going there, you could actually drive your car in. And I remember when my son was first born, we drove the car, backed up to the main straight with the car, made a little bed in the back, and he slept in the back of the station wagon while we were all partying on and watching the bloody races.
So Phillip Island's just got the bagger bike.
Well, that's going
to be awesome. I'll go to that.
Is the baggers going to come to Australia?
Yep.
Yeah, they think they're going to say Phillip Island's going to.
Yep.
I'm likely to pass out right about now, because I absolutely love the bagger race.
Oh no, I'm fascinated by it.
It is. I mean, there's no assistance there at all. So there's no brake assist or engine management system or anything like that. It's just old-fashioned. And I don't care whether you're riding a Pee-wee 50 or a big road glide bagger.
Yeah.
To me, racing is racing, and good racing is good racing.
Yeah.
I think probably the closest and best racing in the world is probably the 300 Supersport. A good friend of mine, Tommy Bramich, who's currently in the 600 Supersport series in Australia, he spent a couple of years riding over in Europe in the 300 series. That is, when you've got 10 blokes going over the line within a second of each other.
Yeah, it's tight.
That's insane racing. But the bagger racing, which I've been following the last couple of years, has become incredible over in the States. I love watching it.
Don't quote me on that. I'm pretty sure they said that Melbourne's on the
well,
years,
I'll be definitely going back to the Grand Prix if the bagger. It's funny because I've been watching some of the media, and every time they put up the bagger racing, people go, "Oh, why would people want to see a piece of shit Harley Harley go around the track.
Weighs
a friggin' ton, blah, 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 all that sort of thing. You go, dude, just watch it.
Because it shows you the talent in the riders.
Oh, yeah. I mean, to that other company to win the title last year. They had to take a 5 times Australian Superbike champion over to do it with Troy Herfoss, who's an insanely good rider. He's really, really good. So, I love the bag of racing. I love but I love any type of racing. As I said, I watch 2 flies race up the wall, quite frankly.
Which bike gives you butterflies still now, just thinking about it?
The only bike I reckon in my life that's almost scared the shit out of me was an R1.
Oh, yeah.
I took an R1 for a ride. A mate of mine said, we'll take it for a ride. I go, okay, no worries. At the time I think I had the CBR 1000 at the time.
Pretty fast.
And
R1's next level,
the R1 was just the thing about the R1 is it weighs about the same as the average 250, and it's got the speed of a friggin' F111, and that was just insane. And I'd ridden Hayabusas, I'd ridden the Kawasaki 1300s, I've ridden most things.
It's a track bike.
100%.
It's meant to be.
Well, afterwards I ended up getting a TLR 1000 Suzuki,
yellow,
the V20 yellow, that was a fun bike.
Yeah.
Every time you took off at the lights, she'd be up.
Yeah.
She'd be. As I said, I don't know how I didn't get more tickets. But even that was not a comparison in for speed and handling, and that the R1 was. I just thought an incredible bike.
Right, so handles as well as go like a fucking better
sticks to the road like shit.
I need to have a go at one of these R1s. Don't shake your head.
I think that's a terrible idea.
Look, I've got to tell you, my theory has always been if you get a chance to ride a motorcycle, ride it. No matter what it is.
Yeah.
Because then you can comment on it.
Yeah.
You can't comment on something you haven't ridden.
Well, here's the thing, that other company that you don't like.
Yeah.
One of our road captain is a big advocate for them.
And he's got a station wagon too, hasn't he?
He's got a boyfriend. Yeah.
I always say the
stick-on dildo.
The Indians are the wood-panelled station wagon of the motorcycle world. They're very practical.
I love this guy. You're a fucking brilliant. You're welcome back whenever you want.
No, look, they got wonderful this, that, and the other. They got all the. But to me, they don't have the character as much as a Harley. But that's just me. And the other day we were up doing one of our shows up at Bendigo at the Black Swan.
That's what.
Sorry, the Black Swan. Must go to if you're into the bike scene in Victoria. You should get along to the Black Swan.
Get him to show you the basement.
Oh well, that's coming. And I got to tell you, some of the stories he was telling us, and the one that came out at the end of the show the other night was that he said the Harley organisation didn't like the races associating with the Indian blokes.
Yeah,
Indian didn't give a shit because they didn't actually directly sponsor them.
Yeah,
but all the guys got on so well is that they would travel together.
Yeah,
and then stop a kilometre out of town, and swap cars so they didn't arrive together and get into the shed. And I said, look, that's just typical bikers, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can put all the rules in place you want, but if they want to hang around together, they're going to hang around together. Really? So that was a really good spot.
So how have you managed fatherhood and bikes? Is that tug of war?
Well, I'm very lucky with I've got a good wife, and I was going to say I've got really good parent-in-laws. I mean, I remember once going up to New South Wales with my oldest boy, who's now 30.
Yeah.
But when he was a baby, first year we went up to Sydney for the Grand Prix, and my in-laws drove up 3 days later so they could watch him on the Sunday while we went to the Grand Prix.
Oh wow!
So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I had to spend 3 days after that travelling home with the mother-in-law, but no, that was all right.
Trade off.
No, it was a lot of fun. And my kids and my missus, we've always had bikes in our lives apart from that time between having the operation on my spine and getting back into bikes. But we love it.
Next question is about losing your daughter. How you process the pain?
Look, I'm a firm believer in life that plans are what you make while shit's waiting to happen.
Yeah.
And sometimes bad shit happens. And that's as bad as it gets, I've got to tell you, is losing a kid.
Yeah.
For your viewers, my second child the daughter was stillborn. She was fine, kicking around that morning, and when we went into the hospital to give birth, she was stillborn, and that's a hard pill to swallow, because most blokes, it's hard when you haven't got control of a situation, and when you're in that much pain and your partner's in that much pain and your family's in that much pain, it's shit.
You said you got pretty angry over all that.
Oh, but look, I became very angry after that.
Yeah,
and I probably still am a little bit. I don't tend to. I think what happened for me was my filter got broken.
Yeah.
By that situation, and now I tend to tell people to fuck off a lot more, or I'm a lot more. I might be brutal in the way I react to situations. Not physically brutal, but I just
to the point.
I'm fairly to the point sort of guy, and I think I wasn't that way before then, but it's just something that happened. And look, at the end of the day, your life goes on.
Yeah.
And you don't, there's only two choices you get. You can either move on. It doesn't mean you forget the situation. Because this happened on Boxing Day for us.
Oh, wow.
So it was pretty shitty, as you can imagine. But not that it would have been any better any other day.
Of course, no.
But, so every Boxing Day we sort of have a little bit of a moment. But
back then,
it's like anything. Time. I mean, it's now 28 years later or something. So you still think about it, but time does heal all wounds, I guess.
Pretty hard thing to deal with. But back then, did they have like support services?
Yeah, it was called the pub.
Yeah.
No, look, there was no support services. I think I had a week off work with the wife and back to work, and
it's hard,
look,
isn't it?
Look, I just think that's just an example of life can sometimes do you a shit sandwich, and you either got to take a bite or you got to eat the whole sandwich. Take a quick bite and
try and get on with
it. And well, you got to, but I mean, it's not easy.
Of course not.
I mean, that took. I don't think I recovered from that for a couple of years.
Yeah,
it was just shit. But what do you do? I mean, at the end of the day, it's like when people lose someone, you go, would they want you to stop?
Exactly,
Would they want you to be miserable? And this is one of the things that upsets me so much about people that suicide. I know they're at the end of their tether, and that what they don't realise is, and a lot of people have said this before, is that by doing that, all you do is pass on the pain.
Yeah, it's transfer.
And I mean, we've had an example of that in Victoria the last couple of weeks with the footballer who, and his brother,
the Selwood, wasn't it?
Yeah, the Selwood brothers. Yeah. So his brother, and that's actually a pretty common thing for siblings. To follow on because they feel so distraught about it. So. If anyone who's getting to that stage, you just got to talk to someone.
That's the key point. That's getting out there and talking.
Nothing weak about it. I mean, if you're in this state that you're like that, Jesus, mate, talk to someone. Because I tell you what, I've always said, I'd rather someone ring me at 3 o'clock in the morning and have a beer. Than me have to go at 3 in the afternoon to his funeral.
Yeah, exactly.
Anytime.
Yeah, perfect.
But you just look at the end of the day, you get on. And you don't really have. I don't really have a choice. I had another child. I had the wife.
Yeah. So we got all these hardship back to back here. So you also had the back injury where you had to get off the bike. What happened there?
Well, I tell you what. The truth was my back wasn't great. I don't think for a long time. And one day I was up on the house roof, and I thought I'm going to break my neck getting down here.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have a ladder, of course. I'd gone up the
and
I said to the wife, I said to the wife, push the kid's trampoline over. So I dropped off the roof onto the trampoline, and as soon as I hit the bloody pad, my back went. And so I ended up getting that operated on, and 3 months on my back on that. Yeah. That was a whole lot of fun.
So how long off the bike?
3 months and 4 days, I think. But no, I was actually off the bike for a lot longer there because that was when I ended up selling the TLR because the doctor said, look, you just can't. And quite frankly, the TLR is not the most ergonomically beautiful bike there. So that's when the bike went. And then, of course, by that stage, I now had 3 kids and we'd bought a caravan and life took over. And so I was off the bikes for about 8 years. And then that's when we went to Cambodia after the cancer. And bada bing, bada boom.
Yeah. So
things have gone quite silly since then, quite frankly.
Full remission from the cancer? No.
Yeah, I had me 5-year test last October.
Yeah.
And
the
surgeon, a professor out at the Alfred, he just said, I don't need to see you anymore. Which was harsh because I'd go there once every 6 months and sit down with him and we'd talk about Harleys because he had 2 in his garage. He's got a house in Tasmania.
Yeah.
He says, I don't ride in Melbourne or Victoria. It's too busy and too dangerous. He says, but I've got the bike. So, and I eventually found out that he's got, like a 48 WL, a 48 and an old Evo or something.
Nice.
Look, you really don't need those.
Yeah.
I said, it'd probably be safer if I got them off your hand.
They should really be on the mainland. That island could float away at any time.
At any time. Yeah, so yeah, that was fun because I go there, you basically have a look in my mouth and go, yeah, you're all right. Keep going.
That's good.
There's nothing there. Come back in 6 months. So after 5 years, they say don't bother coming back.
Yeah, so you're saying the important part about this diagnosis, it kind of rocked up out of nowhere, didn't it? You just haven't had a big lump and then all of a sudden...
I woke up one morning and I was at work and I thought, oh, geez, I haven't had a shave. I look like a bit of a scruffy bastard.
Yeah.
I'll go and have a shave. And I went to shave and there's this frigging big golf ball on the side of my neck, And I said, that's not good.
Yeah.
So I thought I rang the doctors and quite frankly, deep down, I think I knew straight away there was something wrong there.
Yeah.
Anyway, go to the doctors and he comes in and his eyes sort of went in both directions and he said, I'll be back in a minute. And he brought another doctor in and they're both looking. I'm going, I'm not happy about this shit. So anyway, long story short, I ended up having 35 radiations.
Wow.
And 6 chemos. And on the 6th chemo day, the day I went in to have the 7th chemo, I'd lost 10 kilos in 8 days.
Oh, shit.
And they put me into hospital and I ended up spending there 7 days in there, in the cancer ward, in a room with 8 other people, and I was the only person that was ever going to walk out of that room.
Yeah, that's
and I tell you what, there's a humbling situation.
Definitely.
When you know everybody there is not going home.
Yeah.
And I was there and I just shut up. I don't think I said a word for a week because I just felt, like, what right have I got?
I'm not in the same boat.
No, I'm not in the same boat. I was just getting, basically what they did to me then was they gave me about 2 litres of saline to just rehydrate me. And then they ended up operating and putting a peg in my stomach, which is what I had to feed through for the next 6 months.
Yeah.
But, the alternative was a lot worse.
Yeah. 100%.
So I don't complain. Actually, I say that getting the cancer was one of the best things that ever happened to me because now I've got 3 Harleys.
So going back to the Harleys, what was it like jumping on a fat boy for the first time?
Horrible. Horrible. It was funny because I've wanted a Harley all my life and I've ridden a couple.
Yeah.
But I picked it up from Team Moto over at Epping.
Yeah.
Where it was funny. I walked in there just after me getting back from that trip to Cambodia and with my brother and the salesman came over and he goes, "Okay, boys, how can I help you?" I thought, I just need this bloke to piss off. I just want to have a look at the bike. He was harping sort of. He says, "What do I need to do to get you on this bike today?" And I gave him a stupid figure that was like $4,500 less than what they were asking for it. He says, "I'll go and see the boss," and off he walked. And I said, "Oh, Christ, he's pissed off,
Yeah, now I can wheel around.
And he come back about 10 minutes later. He goes, "Right, we can do that."
Like,
holy shit.
I meant...
I've now to go give Eddie a ring because I've got to phone a friend. Actually, I've got to phone a wife. And I rang her and told her and she goes, "Well, that's a bloody good price. Don't be a dick. Buy it."
That's awesome. You got a good wife.
But, I remember picking it up the following Friday, I think it was, and she drove me over and I jumped on it and it was a miserable, windy day. Fat boys are great in the wind. Yeah. And I'm riding it home and I'm thinking, what the fuck have I done?
Yeah.
What have I done wrong? And but I still say it took a good 300 to 500 kilometres, and after that, I have got no desire to ride any other bike anymore. I love it.
That's crazy.
I absolutely love the Fat Boy. It's and now that it's got shameless plug Legend suspension on it, it actually runs like it's on rails. It's absolutely the difference between good suspension on a bike, and it doesn't matter what bike we're talking about here. But we all know that Harley original suspension up until about 2024 was shit, absolute garbage. But I couldn't believe it when I put the Legends on it. It's
I think the first fat boy I ever jumped on, I think it's the only bike I've ever actively felt was trying to kill me.
Yeah.
Like I'm really leaning into the corner and the bike's trying to stand up. This is not how this is supposed to work. It was fighting me the whole time.
Yeah,
it's like a brick with wheels. Like, what the fuck is this?
I took one for a ride out and took it out of Harley Heaven, went straight down through the city, and I was going on to Montague to come back onto the Monash, and I was drifting around the corner. I wanted to go over 3 lanes. Scared the crap.
Look, I absolutely love the Fatty, and I love it even more now than when I got it.
Yeah.
But problem is if you get off, you've been riding jet bikes all your life.
Yeah.
And it's like people are, compare, why would you buy a Harley? Because it's, doesn't handle it, doesn't do this, doesn't it? You're not comparing apples to apples.
No, not at all.
You're comparing 2 things that are totally designed to do 2 totally different things. I love jet bikes, love going, and I used to love going, probably way too much loved going quick.
Yeah.
Eventually you get to an age,
you
guys aren't there yet, but I get to the age where I sort of say, if I don't settle down, I'm going to be a freaking statistic. And it just works.
It's insane.
We could talk for hours about what's going on. I've actually spent a lot of time today trying to organise an interview with someone from the traffic department because seems to me that Victoria Police want to ticket their way to a zero. Motorcyclists are being killed, so let's pull them all over and give them tickets. It has never worked before.
No.
And it won't work in the future. Yeah. I mean, you have a look at the drink driving laws in Victoria. They're bloody draconian. If you actually have a look at what happens to someone when they get booked, at the end of the day, it's their own fault. But it doesn't change anything. We've still got drink drivers. We've probably got more drug drivers than drink drivers now. To me, there needs to be a change. If it is motorcyclists causing all these fatalities or these accidents, because there's 33 motorcycle fatalities this year so far.
Yeah, I read that.
Right, there was another one yesterday, 33. You can multiply that by 10 for the amount of collisions.
Accidents,
Now, the only thing I can see that's changed in the last couple of years are the conditions of the roads in Victoria.
Petrol prices. A lot of people are getting on the bikes because the price of petrol has gone through the roof.
Yeah.
And people were doing it because it's cheaper. So not everybody's experienced.
But experience is an interesting thing because they go, but they're all the worst category is age 30 to 39-year-olds.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think there's been 9 killed in that group. And then the next group is the 70 plus. So there's been 7 killed over the age of 70.
Well, for getting how to ride.
I don't know what it is. But at the end of the day, this to me is the problem. We've got to work out what the problem is.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot of that.
You're meant to laugh, but anyway.
Sorry. Forgetting how to ride. Was that a fucking old joke? You're not too old to put over my knees, but you may be too big.
He might like it.
No, so that's one thing we're doing with our show is we're trying to highlight the issues with
exactly. It's a lot deeper than just.
It is a lot deeper, and we got a little bit of somewhere today, and hopefully we'll have an interview very soon coming up, which we'll be able to ask some of the hard questions.
Yeah, I look forward to that.
But
we did a ride to Denny not long ago at our club, and as soon as you cross the border, it's insane.
It's insanely different, isn't it?
You can't even. It's not even like it's a different world.
Yeah. Same when you go to South Australia.
Yeah.
In fact, the hilarious thing was when Chop, who's another moto blogger, he did his 5 states in 5 days ride. We ran up to the border of South Australia to meet him.
Yeah.
And we stopped there as you're going into South Australia. We pulled in off the road, and they've drawn a line where the border is. And no shit, on the Victorian side there was a pothole, 1.5 inches from the border.
Yep.
And we're just standing there, and we videotaped it. It was just so ironic.
Oh, for sure.
The roads in Victoria are just disgraceful at the moment.
Really, is.
Absolutely disgraceful.
It's putting band-aids on something that is trauma.
Well, this was the problem. We actually spoke to a bloke who was a road repairer, and he said, listen, he said, it's not like the blokes don't want to fix it. He says, but they put in a thing to say this is a 1 metre by 1 metre pothole.
Yeah. It takes
that
4
goes
months
off
to get to it.
By the time it gets authorised, they go back. They've been given, $125 to fix it. But the pothole when they get there is now twice the size.
Yeah.
So, of course,
slap in what you can.
You slap in what you want, and a week and a half later, it's frigging another pothole again. I mean, we did one, we went looking at them.
Job security, though.
Oh, well, plenty of job security. But, the main road between Dalesford and Ballarat, there was one corner. We could actually pick the road up and lift it like a sheet.
Yeah.
And it was in the shade.
The spray seal. Yeah.
It was just ridiculous. Yeah. I could actually lie in the divot. There's actually video of me lying in it, and you just go, this is freaking insane.
Yeah.
And you look, the Melba Highway was horrendous until lately. They've now done the Melba Highway finally.
Yeah.
And it's actually really good now. That was the last time I went on a couple of weeks ago. Prior to that, I was there about 3 or 4 months ago, and it was just like you hit a pothole and you swear you bloody,
buckled around.
Oh,
I was talking, when we were talking with Paul when he was on, there's the video of you guys walking down the road and dropping off in the background.
Well,
I was watching, that was one of my favourites. I was just like,
that was done in one take, by the way. It was very funny.
Yeah.
But it made a point, and that is that they're just not. This government, we all know they've bankrupted the state.
Yeah.
They're trying to tax their way back, and it's not going to happen. But unfortunately, I don't think until we get a change of government, we're going to see anything significant happen.
Yeah.
And I don't care who comes in. There's really only one other choice, unfortunately. But I'm not a fan of politicians in any way, shape or form. But at least the opposition transport spokesman, we rang him and he said, "Yep, I'll come on the show."
Excellent.
And he was good to have. Danny, I can't remember what his surname is, but he was a decent enough bloke. And we just said to him, "Look, we reckon you're going to get in next time. What are you going to do?" And he said this, and this, and we'll be back to talk to you. So we'll be having Danny on shortly after he hopefully gets into office.
Yeah.
And we'll ask him the hard questions, mate, and try and hold him a little bit accountable. But they're just going to have to spend a lot more money, at the end of the day.
So getting into YouTube, mate, how did you go from buying a T-shirt?
Yeah, well,
to launching Hogs,
Cogs, and 2 Aussie Flogs.
Yeah.
There, I got it right.
I'd started watching YouTube and like everybody watched a lot of the American vloggers.
Yeah.
And I came on something about political correctness, and I hate political correctness. And I watched this video, and it was Paul, and he was talking about the situation with Danny Hayes from the $1 Million Bogan. Danny had Harley Davidson had said, if you don't stop interviewing Danny at Geelong Harley, they're going to pull their authority to sell Harleys there. So Danny said, well, fuck it, I'm giving up motovlogging, and did a video to that effect. And of course, everyone went nuts. Every motovlogger in Australia or around the world said this is bullshit, and Harley Davidson backed down, which was good. So that's I actually knew I was watching Paul before I was watching Danny. Since then, met Danny. He's a funny bloke. But at the end of the day, I said to Paul, well, I want to buy one of your T-shirts, mate. I sent him a text. I said, can I buy one of your T-shirts? He said, yeah, no worries. I said, well, where do I send the money? He said, well, are you going to Brighter Days? I said, yeah. He said, well, give it to me up there.
Yeah.
I'll just run into you at Brighter Days. Well, anyway, found out he was doing the Cooper card run. I said, well, we'll meet you at one of the stops.
Yep.
He pulled over. As I walked up to him, he could see I was wearing the Harley Roadshow top, and he pointed a camera at me, and he's been doing it ever since. We just hit it off, quite frankly.
Yeah.
You're actually really enjoyable to watch. I like watching.
Look, he's Paul's a lot like me. He's very to the point, and he's not apologetic for who he is.
Yeah.
But he's he'd give you the shirt off his back.
Oh look, Paul is very high up in our book.
Yeah.
He was one of the first guys to say
yes. Don't talk him up too much.
I thoroughly enjoyed our.
But more to the point, for the next 6 weeks after he's been on the show, he's calling me up like, you got to try this, you got to do this, you got to do this. He's trying to help us get our brand up there as well. He's not one of these guys that's like,
no, look,
I'm bigger than you. He's like,
Paul has always, and this is the funny thing is when I tossed up the idea of it, and he encouraged me to. And isn't that the funniest thing? Grabbing a GoPro for the first time and pointing it's easy. Pointing it at yourself.
That's different.
And talking is. I remember. I'll just digress for a second. I'm sitting at home one day. No one's home. I thought I'll give it a crack.
Yeah.
So I sat in my chair and set the GoPro up, and I had an idea for a vlog, which I still haven't put out, by the way. And I turned it on and I looked at it and I went blank. Just could not say a word. But it's something that you get used to.
Yeah.
You get used. And now I'm walking around in the middle of bloody motorcycle rallies with big bikers all over the place. talking to myself into the camera. And blokes yelling out, stop talking to yourself, Whitey.
A skill you got to learn, because I was trying to do something very similar when I was going to introduce our podcast to YouTube, which is YouTube. You can jump on here and listen to it as well. And it is very hard filming yourself and trying to talk to a camera.
It's definitely a skill, and it's look, I've always been a pretty good public speaker, I think.
Yeah.
There's speaking in front of people.
And they're speaking
and then
to yourself.
Speaking to yourself in public is totally different. Yeah. And it's an insane sort of thing. But
not being able to gauge your audience is a hard thing to get used to. Like my job is standing in front of people talking.
Yeah.
My hobby is talking.
Yeah.
I just want to talk all the time. President of my motorcycle club, I talk to people. That's my thing. But not being able to gauge that, get that feedback, instant feedback, you kind of don't know if you're hitting or missing, really.
It does take some time. I remember the first time that someone came up and go, I've been watching your stuff, I love it. And you go, oh, wow, I must be doing something right.
So what is the most fulfilling part about your YouTube channel?
100%, it's the people you meet. I love it when people say, "Oh, you blokes are only doing it for the money." Oh, please,
what money? What money?
Please, it costs me more in e-tag fees than we make.
I can
even with Hogs, Cogs, and the Harley couple. So you certainly don't do it for the money. You do it because you enjoy it.
Yeah,
look, once you get big numbers,
but of course, but that's
62-year-old bikers are not going to. You're not going to cut it with an audience. I mean, our audience is between, say, 45 and 65 mostly.
Yeah.
And they're not that good on turning YouTube on at the best of times, because the older audiences, it hasn't or the majority of them haven't really, Australia hasn't embraced YouTube as much as other parts of the world.
Yeah.
I think we're really at the grassroots of it,
which is a great place to be.
Oh,
because,
certainly is.
If it does grow, you're going to be one of the godfathers of
it. But as you were saying about Paul, he gets really, he will help anyone. And we always said, look, no one gets any bigger by standing on someone else.
Yeah. Yep.
If we all help each other, everybody can. There's enough out there. It's not like someone's going to watch my podcast and go, "Well, I've watched a motorbike podcast."
Yeah, I don't need to watch any of that.
I'm not watching that other podcast because
I'm loyal to Whitey. That's
You'd have to be a fair egomaniac, wouldn't you? So it's like, and Danny was the same. I've got to tell you, the first time I met Danny, first thing he did was he grabbed my camera, held it at the both of us, and started talking, and that was fantastic, as you can imagine, for the video I did that night. That was an interesting night before the Lifeline ride about 3 years ago.
Yeah,
and he's the same. Best advice I got off him was, Paul actually was over at his place and they're discussing editing and all that. And he says, "Oh, well, I'm here. Do you want to have a look at Whitey?" He goes, "Who's Whitey?" He goes, Anyway, long story short, Paul played him one of my, and we used to start That Harley couple with went for about 30 seconds a start of the YouTube. That was our intro, just like, MASH would have, or bloody any TV show.
Yeah.
And apparently his words were, "Who does this bloke think he is? Cecil B. fucking DeMille." And Paul came back, and Paul, being as brutally honest as Paul is, he said, "Well, and Danny said."
Okay,
and I went, at that stage, no one was interested in Whitey or Lisa.
Yeah.
They were interested in bike content.
Yeah.
So we concentrated on the bike content. There's actually another YouTuber out there who I've spoken to a number of times, and he starts every YouTube with a 3.5-minute intro. I'm thinking, I really wish he wouldn't do it, because by that stage, everyone's gone.
Yeah, that's
you have a look if you have a look on YouTube, it actually gives you the numbers. And most people, you lose around about 40% in the first 30 seconds. Now, I can't understand why you want to turn a video on and not watch it for more than 30 seconds, but apparently 40% of people do. They turn it on, they go, "Yeah, no, I'm not after a podcast," or "I'm not after."
I'm one of them.
Bang.
Yeah, if I grab my video out and the guy starts with like, "Hi, like and subscribe," I'm like, "Nope."
Yeah. Why would I fucking subscribe? I haven't even seen your shit yet. Yeah, that's one of the cardinal sins apparently of YouTube, is to ask people to subscribe.
Begging people,
You got to give them something first.
Exactly right. Yeah.
And you've got to have an intro that hopefully draws them in.
So what has been your biggest challenge so far?
Look, I think the biggest thing is having enough content.
Yeah.
Is having enough good content.
Yeah.
It's all about having good content. what people want to see. Like what we do, me and Lisa, is a little bit different. We'll do the, the trip videos and the bike event videos, but the way we deliver it is different to the way, say, Paul and Elaine deliver it.
Yeah.
I don't know. What's the hardest thing? But as I said, editing is the hardest thing.
Yeah.
Hands down, editing takes hours.
We had a bit of a chat before. You were saying that the missus does most of the editing, and then you're kind of like the polish guy.
I was doing all the editing and not often enough. Yeah. And at one stage I just said, look, I can't be shagged. And we ended up having about a 4 or 5 month break.
Yeah.
And it was like having to start again.
Yeah.
Even though we already had, at that stage, a couple of thousand or 2,500 viewers.
Consistency is key, though, isn't
it? Yeah. But you don't have to, putting crap out doesn't help either.
No.
Yeah.
So, because people just go, oh, him again, that's crap.
Yeah.
So it's a toss-up. And it's constantly trying to look for something that's interesting. But, that was the worst thing we ever did, was take that break. So now the missus, basically, we'll do all the video footage and whatever. I'll gather it all and I'll get it on a hard drive, and then I'll give it to her. And then she'll take 2 hours of video and get it down to about probably a 40-minute thing. And then we'll sit down together and discuss it. And look, it can take hours. Yeah. Some of them can come together a lot quicker than others.
Yeah.
Actually, some of the funniest one, like one of our biggest YouTube videos we did was I actually filmed in Paul's garage.
Yep.
And 2 of the boys were there. And it was, I bought a Thrasher gear changer, which basically is a shorter gear selector that helps. The bike goes into neutral first time every time.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic, because the Road Glide had that problem where it was really hard to find neutral, and now it's beautiful.
Yeah.
So, of course, I've sat on the video. Paul's filming it for me. The 2 boys are over here, and the first thing I say is, do you have problems getting it in? And
it's a good way to start a video.
That video, which was about getting it into gear, getting it into neutral, took, it's a 5-minute video, I think. Yep. It's had, I don't know, 80,000 views or something.
Yeah.
And it took about 2.5 hours to complete because the 3 idiots that were in the room.
They couldn't hold it together.
Between Paul, John and Phil, they couldn't keep a straight face. That's one of the funny things about filming is, and you will have seen it a few times with me and Paul, is that Paul has a habit of coming out with,
quick-witted.
Yeah, so and he'll come out with something, and I'll just lose it.
Dave Sanderson.
Oh, that was hilarious. So,
or Saunderson, which one was it?
His name's Sanderson, but
I laughed my ass off all afternoon.
That was a funny day because we went and saw Dave and his motorcycle collection, which was absolutely phenomenal. And that's one of the things we do is we go and see classic motorcycle collections, and we get back and we're doing the studio part of it, and to introduce ourselves.
Yeah, I love the blooper.
Let's go and see Dave Saunderson, and Paul goes, Sanderson.
And then you tried to get it right.
And then we tried to get it right.
And then he'd giggle.
15 minutes later, after the 36th time I'd fucked it up, next minute, that was it. We were in tears, and it just took an awful long time to do, but it was, even at the time, it was funny.
Yeah, some of this. So you do a lot of that. I'm guessing you two, you get along, you click very well.
Yeah, look. I think you got to, if you're going to sit and you're going to discuss something that you both love, you've got to both be.
Yeah,
I think we've only ever had one argument in the last 3 years, and quite frankly, he's actually doing really well there because I've had a shitload more with my wife than I have.
I'm bigger than Prez, so he doesn't argue with me.
Well, you reckon you're bigger than the Prez? Have a look at the size of Paul to me.
Yeah.
His nickname, my nickname for him is Hagrid.
That's a good one. He does look a bit like Hagrid, doesn't he?
Very much. No. Sorry, Paul.
Yeah, no. Look, we get on like a house on fire, and it's an awful lot of fun. And
you're both just very easy blokes to talk to. I think I ran into you at Bendigo Shovelfest last year.
Oh yeah.
I think we had like a 20-minute chat, and I walked away like, I feel like I know the bloke.
Was he riding with Paul? Like,
no. Paul passed me at just over the speed limit by a bit.
Oh, no, I do not believe that.
No.
I've ridden with him. I'll tell you what, mate, when we were up in the outback,
yeah,
how good is
beautiful
that? How
road.
much fun is that? And we left Silverton the Mundi Festival or something was on that weekend, which is basically every grey nomad in Australia converges on this one spot.
No.
And he says to me, we best leave a little bit early so we can get ahead of the caravans. Well, we got ahead of most, but we got about 50 k's out of town, and we came across a convoy of the old blokes that got up early.
Yeah.
And there was about, it must have been 30 caravans.
Fucking hell.
And we were overtaking them 7 at a time. It was a beautiful, crystal clear day.
Yeah.
The only thing you had to worry about that day were emus.
Yeah.
I'd never seen a goat, a wild goat in my life until we went on that trip 15, 18 months ago now.
Yeah.
And between Mildura and Silverton, I reckon I saw 1,000 goats. It is insane.
Yeah,
Their plague proportions is about... At one stage, on the next day, we stopped. Paul got his drone out, and we were herding goats with the drone.
That's pretty cool.
Which was a whole lot of fun. And then the next day, it was all emus.
I got a bit of feedback for Paul's episode from one of my mates who was like, "That guy Paul," he goes, "he contradicted himself, right?" And I was like, "No, what do you mean?" He goes, like, he had a big section of the show where he talked about the big problem with Victorian roads is everyone's so aggressive. Everyone's like an aggressive driver. It's like, blah, blah. No. And I was like, and how would your mates describe you as a driver? He's like, aggressive.
Yeah. I'll tell you what.
I didn't Jared that at the time.
I've got to tell you, the first, when we were over in New Zealand, the first few days we actually had a car before we could get to Queenstown to pick up the bikes.
Yeah.
He's a good motorcycle rider. But he drives wherever we go. If we go in the car anywhere, Paul always drives.
Yeah.
Because he's a control freak.
Of course.
I told you that. But anyway.
It's good bloke.
No, it's a whole lot of fun. And we're organised. Actually, today we were organising to head off for a couple of days for another little bit of a trip because organising for our Brass Monkey Run, which once a year we run a Brass Monkey Run for Hogs, Cogs, and invite viewers along, and that's going to be a fun night. You boys should come along.
The original pub booked out, was that right?
Yeah,
that's booked out pretty quick.
One of the pubs is booked. One of the motels is booked out, and the other one up the road's got a couple left. But so we're heading up to Yarrawonga for that one.
Yeah,
so
cool.
That should be
not a bad ride either.
Yeah, we'll find a back way.
Yeah.
Certainly won't be going up the highway.
Yeah.
So what has motorcycle taught you about surviving life storms?
I don't know if it's motorcycling has taught me anything about surviving life storms, but I think it's an absolutely. So I don't understand anyone that doesn't ride. Physically, do not understand someone that doesn't ride a motorbike. I think there's got to be something mentally wrong with it. We're talking about mental health.
I think it's the other way.
I really don't, because for me, I get so much from it.
Yeah.
The enjoyment, not only from the riding, but from the associations that you get through it.
Yeah.
It keeps you sharp-witted.
Yeah.
Because the one day you're not sharp-witted, you're going to know all about it.
The consequences for not paying attention about it.
And the history of it. I mean, I love the history of it, whether it be Grand Prix history, superbike history, road riding history. I mean, you see all these classic bike collections that we go to. To me, that's, and probably the most impressive was when we were over in New Zealand. We went to Motorcycle Mecca in Invercargill.
Yeah.
And 3 floors of bikes and...
was that where Paul found his grandpa?
Yeah, so basically I'm walking around, and at one stage I'm nearly in bloody tears because I'm seeing all these bikes but when I grew up, I lost my dad about 15 years ago, and he was basically my hero, and he would talk to me about bikes growing up, and all these bikes and I'll go into Motorcycle Mecca, and I'm actually bumping into bikes that I'd never heard of, or I'd never seen anywhere else before.
Yeah.
And Paul sort of giving me a bit of a hard time. Then at the end of it, we walked into the cafeteria, and there's a perfect replica of the bike that his granddad had.
Yeah, Supreme.
Supreme.
Sitting over the table where we were eating, and he's all choked up. I said, "Don't be a weak prick." So we were both soft that day, but it's just an amazing. I mean, when you've got 7 Bruff Superiors in a row, lined up all in pristine condition,
they are beautiful.
And the Bruff Superior is. I got to laugh. We were up interviewing Dave Reedy up at the Harley City collection up at Castlemaine, and he's got one there. I said, my dad always used to tell me that the Bruff Superior was the Rolls Royce of motorcycles. What do you think of that? And he looked at me and he said, I didn't think that much of Rolls Royce. Because he was he's a Crocker man. Now, a lot of people won't know about the Crocker, but the Crocker was a very famous American motorcycle. There's very few of, but there's I think he's got 2 of them up there.
Yeah. I used to work for a bloke who collected antique Italian motorcycles.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I went to his house for like a work tour, and he goes, "Oh, come and have a look in my shed." Like, just fucking bikes. He must have like 40 or 50 of them. And he goes, "What do you reckon?" I said,
"That's not the Motor Guzzies, is it?"
"I reckon you don't fucking pay me enough."
That's a fair call too. That's not the Motor Guzzy guy, is it?
No. What were they? They weren't Motor Guzzies. It was I can't remember. Yeah, it was some random like little brand.
Yeah,
it was like his family was.
Well, that's the funny thing is the amount of collections that are out there in Australia.
And just private that nobody knows about.
Yeah. And they've got their own little community.
Yeah.
And they've just done the Cannonball Classic, which was from Darwin down to South Australia, Mount Gambier or something last week. And me and Paul were going to go on it, but we ended up not being able to be worked out time-wise. The amount the gunner who used to work at Geelong Harley, his collection is insane. Yeah. You've got the collection, the not-so-private collection out at the Naked Racer in Moorabbin.
That's great.
That's a ripper collection.
I hadn't been until last weekend, and I was just walking the whole time going like, holy...
That's like 18 minutes from my house.
No matter where you look, there's something to see. There's a bloody helicopter. There's old snowmobiles. Just fucking.
But the bikes that are there are just insane.
Are fucking beautiful.
There are some absolutely beautiful ones there, and it's also got a restaurant. It's got the museum, which
well
is
set up, then.
Free.
Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah.
It's free of charge to go in. Yeah. So if anyone who's out there who's into bikes,
go out to Naked Racer.
Down to Naked Racer,
just a free plug. Yeah, that was fucking great.
It's a ripper spot. Yeah. We'll often go down there on a Sunday for breakfast or something, and you walk through, and it changes every 4 weeks or so. They move shit around.
Yeah, one of our clubs that we ride with, the Guards, are doing a ride out there at the end of June, I think. So probably it'll be after this comes.
Put it in the show notes.
I think it might be actually this Sunday, which will be 2 weeks ago for you guys.
Don't put it in the show notes.
Nah, look, but the amount of collections that are out there is insane. I mean, I was talking to a bloke this morning who's got about 60 bikes that we're going to go and see. So that's
the old saying that nobody should have bikes after 50.
Yeah,
50 is
no. You only
50 is plenty.
What do they say? You only need one bike. Yeah, one more.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I'm looking at buying another one. So,
what are you looking at now?
Believe it or not, and I'm looking at getting a 1200 Sportster, but I want to get an Evo.
Okay.
And I want to convert it to a bobber. Oh, and I want it to be a project bike for me, so something during the winter months and that when you're not out as much. No matter, I mean, we're out a lot anyway, but not out as much. Yeah. And I miss tinkering with a bike. And my other three, I don't need to at the moment. So
Sarge doesn't miss tinkering with bikes. He's building my 81 at the moment.
Ooh,
I need my shed back. So I better start doing something with it because I need my shed back.
Yeah.
So you got grandkids now. So how's that changed the way you ride?
No, well, it hasn't changed the way I ride. It probably just means I've got to get home a bit earlier sometimes because two of my son's got 3 kids. Yeah. Mm-hmm. One by his first relationship and one by his, the last one. Anyway, so the 2 boys stay with their mum half of the week and with him the other half of the week, but because he starts work at 6 a.m.
Yep, so you help out.
So the boys live at our house, or sleep at our house 2 times or 2 or 3 times a week.
Makes you young again, doesn't it?
They are funny kids. They're funny. They've gone madly into basketball at the moment. So we spend every Saturday, if I'm not out on the bike, then we're at the basketball court watching. That is a stupid game. That is stupid. It is so exciting that it just takes years off your life as a grandparent watching.
Makes my ankles hurt thinking about it.
But especially my oldest grandson, he's been playing it a couple of years now, and he's 12 years old, and I don't know how they get it in that bloody hoop from where they get it in from. I mean, some of those kids are insane. I've always
said, as far as sports goes, my favourite half an hour of sports is the last 30 seconds of a professional basketball game. Time out. Fuck, can we get on with it?
Yeah, because they keep stopping the bloody clock. But I don't understand half the rules, and I get angry. I'm very competitive.
Hit him.
So my son-in-law, who's 30, he'll often turn around and go, "Dad, calm down," because I'm yelling, "Go for the ball!"
Yeah, go get it.
Anyway, so they're great. Grandkids are they're better than your own kids because you can
spoil them and not ruin them.
Spoil them, right?
Give them back.
Well, the problem is can't give them back, so they don't get red cordial. They only get red cordial if their mum's picking them up.
So looking back, do you see all these things as part of one big journey? The bikes, the pain, the YouTube.
Yeah, look, life's a funny thing as far as I'm concerned. I got this tattoo on my arm, which was my dad's favourite saying, which is life's not a rehearsal. You don't get a second. I think I did get a bit of a second shot over cancer, but the reality is you only get one real shot at it. And this is a conversation me and Paul often have on the show, and we often have with people. People will say, "Oh, how do you guys find so much time to get away?" And you go, it's simple. We work hard at finding that time. Yeah, it's a lot easier for me now than it was now that I'm no longer working. I'm retired. But Paul runs 5 businesses. Yeah. Right? So we've got, and he gets out just as much as me. Yeah. So it's all about, you've got to invest in your life. Yeah, time management. Life's too short to waste a moment of it as far as I'm concerned. It's like when you guys rang and said, I'll go out there. What the hell? It's a Friday night. I'll only be sitting there.
Do you know what? I really appreciate it.
On the 10th time.
Well, yeah, it did take us a while to organise this because, mostly it's because
it's just scheduling.
You are really busy with both Hogs, Cogs, with That Harley couple. And with the grandkids.
All the rides you've got to get out.
And then all the rides. And then, of course, people are inviting us to things all the time. And there's a couple of bike nights that we've been invited to that we just haven't been able to get to. Yeah. And we feel really guilty about it because we want to get to everything and we want to promote motorcycling as much as we can. Yeah. The more you can promote it, the more people are going to get involved. And I just think it's incumbent on us old farts to sort of pass it down a little bit because I do laugh though. There's a lot of people go, Harley's dying because, their generation is dying out. I'm going, well, their generation is actually around about 40 to 45-year-olds and there's more 40 to 45-year-olds in Australia now than there's ever been. Yeah. Due to, people used to die at 45.
It's not the people don't like bikes. It's stop making them fucking $50,000 each.
Well, that would
that might help.
That would help. That would help a lot. Yeah. That would help a lot. Yeah. But you don't have to buy a Harley.
No.
You can go and get a bike that you can ride and is safe and is just as much fun. Yeah. Like for.
Well, this is the one that I've got now is the first new bike I've ever had.
Yeah, well, I've never owned a new bike in my life.
It'll be the life.
2020 was 2 years old when I bought it. 2012 was 7 years old when I bought it. So you don't have to get a new one, and you don't have to spend a fortune. People go, "Oh, I'd love a Harley, but I can't afford it." Well, I couldn't afford it till I was 55.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Actually, I couldn't afford it then, but I bought it. So to me, life is all about finding whatever your passion is, whether it be bikes, whether it be hot rods and cars, or whatever it is. Spend some money on toys, boys. Yeah. At the end of the day, he who dies with the most toys is the winner.
That's right. That's right.
My mum's got a thing that says, "One who dies with the most shoes wins."
Yeah, well, Imelda Marcos.
When you get to the bottom of the stairs, I think Trish is winning.
But it is. Look, and I say this to guys all the time, and that's why we did that Outback trip. I don't know if you watched it, but I got Shanghai. I got the Pauls to do the show, and he goes, "We're not doing the show." I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "We're getting on the bikes. We're going."
Yeah.
And we were gone for 4 days. My wife had already packed my bags for me. Didn't even tell me. So, but that was all about proving that you don't have to spend 6 months organising.
Yeah, that's it. I'm coming around. Well, let's go.
We're going for 4 days. I mean, you only need 2 pairs of jocks. Turn them around.
Same pair of jeans. Maybe a t-shirt.
Well, I'll tell you, I've got another shameless plug. Resurgence.
Danny Hayes. They're good jeans. They really are.
These ones aren't, but the Resurgence that I normally wear are they're as comfortable as they come. Yeah. And at the end of the day, you don't need to change a pair of jeans for 4 hours.
I'd love to give them a try. I would love to.
I'll have a talk to Aaron for you. But the reality is you don't need to pack a whole heap of shit.
Exactly.
The one thing most motorcycle tourists do wrong is that they pack too much.
Yeah, of course.
We have our social events organizer, girl in our club, lady in our club. And she's like, how did you guys get anything done before I was here? Like, and she's like, I'm planning. She's got like the October plans for the meetings and stuff. I'm like, because if I call the boys up at 4 o'clock on a Friday and go, like, pub,
Yeah.
You'll get 20 bikes there.
Yeah.
You organise it 6 months in advance and the numbers dwindle
every time.
every time.
Well, it's funny because with Hogs Cogs, Paul is a very much let's go.
Yeah.
I've always been a plan it to the extreme.
Yeah.
But I'm slowly changing. I'm slowly getting to the point of screw it, let's just go.
Yeah.
Because what can go wrong?
What's one lesson that the road has taught you that life never could?
Ooh. Going out on the road and riding.
Yeah.
I think solitude.
Yeah.
I mean, it's taught you how to live in your own head.
Yeah.
And how to make the most of that time. And I actually, like when you ask me, do I play the stereo when I'm riding? Very rarely.
Yeah.
Because I get on the bike and all of life's problems just go.
Yeah.
And now it's, right, what am I thinking about? Well, it depends. If I'm in the twisties, I'm thinking about the next corner.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really enjoying that. But if I'm just on a long ride out in the country somewhere, I might be thinking of, what are we going to do for the next show? Or what else can I buy to make this trip better for the bike? Like, change that Vance and Hines short shots to a 2-in-1 or something, or whatever.
Bassini?
Yeah, Bassini would be nice. To me, it's taught me that to enjoy my own company.
Yeah. So we're a bit of a mental health show. If you met someone at rock bottom or you get a message from your show from someone who's really doing it tough,
we actually had a few of those.
Yeah.
It's simple. Reach out and talk. If someone reaches out to us if someone reaches out to me on Facebook, and I've got a couple that I talk to on a regular basis.
Yeah.
How you going goes a long way.
Yeah.
You got to mean it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Don't get shitty if you ask someone how you're going and they go, well, actually, pretty shit. Oh, that's no good, mate. And now I've just bought a new bike.
No, what's wrong?
What's wrong? And can I help you out, or do you want to chat? One of the blokes that sponsors us the other day, I was on the phone to him, and he just found out about an hour before that one of his best mates had committed suicide.
Lost the battle,
and that was he had lost the battle, and there's no reason ever to lose that battle because there are people there, but you've got to ask for it. You've got to ask for that help. Yeah. I mean, I've never been in that position. I've got to say, I've been lucky, even though I've had some shit times in life.
Would you know where to point somebody in if they did come to you?
What's the
first one that comes to mind?
Oh, the first one that comes, it really doesn't, because I'm not. We're not a mental health show, and I'm not a mental health expert. I'd say seek some some help. Maybe get on the phone to Lifeline or something. That's a really good. That's a really good start, because you're going to talk to people that understand. You don't have to talk to someone you know.
Yeah.
You just bloody well have to talk.
It's the talking part. You need to. It ain't weak to speak.
And get it out of your head.
I'm 62 years old, and I've come across a lot of these incidents, especially in the last probably 20 years. And to me, no one ever hears that you've committed suicide and goes, everybody just says, why didn't they talk to me?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Why didn't they talk to me? Well, talk to people.
Yeah.
It's not that, I tell you what, once you do it, I'm sure it would make everything a whole lot better straight away.
You're from the same type of Aussie generation. Me, I'm 48, so kind of the tail end of your boys. We could be laying there in an upside down car bleeding from the head, and someone walk up and go, "You all right, mate?" Like, no, I'm good, mate.
Like, it's not always the best thing.
We were just not taught to talk about this shit.
Yeah, and look, it's difficult to talk about your mental health to friends.
Yeah.
I've got no doubt, but if it's got to that stage, I mean, I think Danny used to say it's a permanent solution to a temporary problem.
Yep,
it's not. No matter what you're going through, it can be fixed, no matter what. But you've just got to get the right. It's like something's wrong with your bike.
Mm-hmm.
If something's wrong with your bike, what do? You get an expert to fix it.
Yeah.
If you can't fix it yourself, get an expert to fix it. Well, if you can't fix your mental health, then get onto an expert.
Someone who can.
Because I think they say that they've interviewed everybody that survived jumping off the bloody Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah.
And that's not a lot, by the way.
Yeah.
But everyone said that the moment their hands left the rail,
they didn't want to do it anymore.
They realised they'd fucked up.
Yeah.
And there's no going back, you know. And it's sad because to me, when you hear of something like that mate whose friend committed suicide the other day, 30-odd-year-old bloke, mate, you've got 60 more years to live.
Yeah.
60 years is a long time to sort out some shit.
Yeah.
Use a fraction of that time. Use the 6 months.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll start to wrap it up, mate. If you only had one ride left, one last ride anywhere in the world, any bike, anyone you could take with you, what would be your ultimate see you later ride?
Oh, that's a big one.
Yeah.
I'd love to do the Tail of the Dragon.
But
that makes it hard because I'd love to do. My last ride would have to be with the tail gunner with my wife.
you don't want to
with Lisa, because I love riding with my missus on the back.
That's
a lot of blokes don't.
Lisa,
she
I don't
loves
know
being
how
on
rare that is.
Hey,
I said, Lisa, I don't think you know how rare that is.
Yeah. I absolutely. There are times when I'm riding around, going, I wish she was here to enjoy this, you know. And she loves being on the back of the bike. Like a lot of people have said to her, why don't you get your own bike? She goes, I don't want to. I'm happy on the back.
Happy on the back.
She enjoys being on the back of the bike. She enjoys the solitude that she gets, even with the centre that we occasionally use.
Yeah.
But, look, I love the States.
Yeah.
I mean, New Zealand was probably the best roads I've ever ridden, but, South Dakota and all those sorts of areas.
Yeah, it's on the bucket list. I like to do it.
Absolutely. It's just so much fun to ride around.
I did in a car, unfortunately, from LA up to Vancouver, all the way across to Calgary.
Oh, nice.
And we flew to New York and kind of back through the middle to Vegas.
Yeah.
I want to do the bottom.
Yeah,
so all through
New Orleans.
Well, when COVID started, we had planned a trip to go do Daytona Bike Week. We were going to hire a bike and ride down the Florida Keys to Key Largo, and back, and then we were going to go and do Memphis, Nashville, and New Orleans.
Perfect.
But yes. Thanks, Dan. Actually, thanks, Chairman Dan.
Locked us up, eh?
Yeah, that's it.
Is there anything you think we haven't covered on the show today?
No, mate, look, I just congratulate you guys on what you're doing. I think it's amazing, actually. There's so much mental health trauma out there at the moment, and guys, as we were just saying, have a chat with someone, have a listen to some of these podcasts, because I've listened to. By the way, I've listened to all of them.
Yeah.
The one 2 weeks ago where someone was putting shit on Harleys a bit too much. I might have to have a chat with you about that after this is turned off. But apart from that, look, no, it's just to me what you guys are doing is absolutely fantastic. And if there's anything we can do to help, don't hesitate to ask, and of course, hopefully, let us know when you come into some of the rallies and stuff, because
I'm keen to do.
I'm always looking for someone to have a beer with.
Yeah. We don't drink. He's actually sober. I just
so.
Oh yeah. No, that's brilliant.
3.5 years.
Yeah.
Now, so yeah.
Well, you know what? I've got a lot of respect for people.
That's why you got the water and not a beer.
Yeah, normally my starting price is a Jack and Coke.
Keep that in mind next time I see you around.
No, but to me, I have a lot of respect for people that have realised they've got an issue, and are man enough to accept it and work with it.
It's still a daily thing.
And it's the exact same thing with the mental health. To
ask for help. Yeah.
Ask for help.
Yeah.
Man enough to understand that you've got a problem and you need help. There's nothing.
So before Sarge jumps into this final question, just a bit of an apology for making you sit here and watch us actually build half the studio tonight before you got to.
But hey, what do you think about a little studio?
The studio is fantastic. I didn't realise I was walking into IKEA, assembling a couple of chairs while I was here. No, it's great, and the sound sounds good.
Yeah, do you know what? It sounds wonderful. It's a very tiny little difference.
Yeah,
I can definitely hear it.
Yeah.
Well, audio files. The one thing you'll learn doing podcasts or whether we do R1, which is if the audio isn't perfect, someone's going to tell you.
Yeah.
That people will forgive shit video.
Yeah, but not shit audio.
They'll forgive shit conversation, but they won't forget shit. We did a live show for Christmas last year, and it was an absolute schmozzle because there was a problem with the internet or something, and it was embarrassing.
Everything went by shape.
Hopefully that won't happen anymore. We've gone and bought some new equipment, but
perfect.
Yeah. So best of luck with it, boys, and I'm looking forward to.
Thank you for
back
coming
on
and
with
sharing
5 years
story.
and asking you to help me get some more subscribers because you've got more than me by then.
That'd be good, mate. Look, we really appreciate you coming and sharing your story. Yeah, it's
not a problem.
One question we finish every show with.
Go on.
What does the term "twist the throttle" mean to you?
Come on, that was mine.
Twist the Throttle. That sort of reminds me, Twist of the Wrist, which was a book written by Keith Code back in the 70s. He was the founder of the American Superbike School.
Oh, nice.
And which is basically what the Australian Superbike School is made of. And the one thing I remember from it, because I loved reading books about motorcycles and motorcycle techniques and things, and that was one of the first rider education books that I ever read. And he says, basically, you've got $1 worth of attention, and to go fast, you've got to draw those cents back. You know, instead of don't concentrate on other shit that's happening, concentrate on that corner and that corner alone, or that corner and the lead into the next corner. Yeah. And the more you can peg back the amount of concentration you're spending on others, on a thing, you can spend more on that. And that's what people need to do when they go riding too. Is I see it a lot up places like the Reefed and Spur.
Yeah.
People are not 100% focused on what they're doing. And that's how we end up with accidents.
How long ago was it you came off on the Spur?
Shut up.
Well, I always say I never ride. The best day of the year, I can give you a tip though, the best day of the year to ride the Reefed and Spur, New Year's Day.
Yeah,
me and the tail going to go up there every New Year's Day.
Because everyone else.
We leave at 7 a.m. Everybody else is hungover. No one's on the road, and the Reefed and Spur is a whole lot of fun when there's no traffic on it.
Early on a Sunday morning is pretty good.
We did it last year. This year there was nothing, and I keep an eye on my rear view mirror, and I've seen this red flash coming up. I've just moved over because it was a Ducati.
Yeah,
and this Ducati sounded quite nice because the Ducati is a beautiful sounding bike.
Yeah.
And he went past like we were freaking stopped.
Yeah.
But apart from that, we didn't see another vehicle on the entire Reefed and Spur. It's a beautiful thing. So that, Twist of the Wrist is to me, going riding is the greatest joy in life, quite frankly. And as I said, I don't understand anyone that doesn't do it.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for making the time to come over here, mate. I know it was a bit of a trek, so thank you very much.
Not a problem. Cheers.
Bye. Thanks for riding with us today on Twist the Throttle. If you enjoyed the ride, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your crew. Remember, no matter how tough the road gets, you're never riding alone. Stay safe, stay open, catch you on the next ride. Keep that throttle twisted.